Hi, thank you, Senator Warnock, for your leadership and for having me here today. My name is Nura Moshtael, and I'm a proud member of MomsRising. I'm so excited about what the child tax credit will mean for my family, and my heart goes out also to all the moms out there, especially the moms of color who, are going through the struggles that we just mentioned. Um, I'm a mom of an amazing 13-year-old son. His name is Anis. He was born with Down syndrome, and he also is dealing with speech apraxia. As we speak right now, he's finally getting his first face-to-face session since before the pandemic of, assisting him with occupational and speech therapy. Throughout his life, I've needed to be flexible, and work-wise in order to be able to care for him and make sure his needs are met. And I've spent more than a decade before he was born and since he's been born, building a career in the restaurant industry. Then the pandemic hit. I lost both of my restaurant jobs. And of course, as a result of the pandemic, I've struggled to pay my bills. We were displaced. We ended up having to move into our family home. We're just now starting to put the pieces back together, and I've just recently started back working, and we've gotten back to Atlanta. And but my son lost important services during that entire period, and we did have, quite a bit of progression. So, I wasn't able to afford to get him to where he needed to be. We were 90 miles away from everywhere that he, was getting all of his services, and for me to seek out the best, for him. And so that's been a struggle to watch him not have what he needs. So the expanded child tax credit is going to be a huge relief for us, in trying to get back to some semblance of normalcy. Um, it's going to help us, to kind of, cover all of the, as the restaurants attempt to, get their staffing back up and so forth. It's going to help us on the times that the restaurants can't be open just yet. My restaurant currently is closed 2 days a week because of the staffing issues. So, I'm really, really so pleased that Congress decided to invest in children and families and making these long overdue changes to our tax code. We really hope that the lawmakers make this expansion permanent because I know how important it is to working families like me. Thank you so much.
And with that, Alicia, you can begin.
Good afternoon. I'm Alicia Johnson. I'm the Executive Director of Step Up Savannah, a local nonprofit where we focus on regional economic mobility and financial security. My greetings to everyone on the panel, and thank you specifically to Senator Warnock for having this conversation and for helping us inform the narrative around what's happening in our community. More specifically, we have working families who now are looking to get back into the workforce, and we have limited childcare spaces due to COVID. We have, and those childcare spaces are now at a premium and making them cost prohibitive. We have transportation issues. As Nora indicated, we also have families who have had to leave those frontline positions and maybe go on to other jobs and looking for portable benefit opportunities. So the child tax credit, in essence, creates that bridging capital for working families across the social safety net to help provide those necessary supports to sustain families getting back into economic recovery. So thank you again. And we at Step Up Savannah are looking to increase dialogue about making such programs permanent part of people-centered budgets and programming for our state.
Well, thank you so very much, Alicia, and thanks to Nora and to Ray for joining me today to talk about the importance of the expanded child tax credit for working families in Georgia. Today is a great day. I can't wait to talk some more about this, but you all have laid it out very clearly. And Nora, I want to start with you. And first of all, thank you so much, Nora, for all of you, but especially Nura, for taking the time. Here you are in the middle of a medical appointment with your son, and you're in the midst of the struggle, even as we talk about this and the impact it has on moms like you. And so, thank you. Let me ask you, as a single mom to a sixth grader, what does this expanded child tax credit mean for you? What does it look like day to day as you consider your own needs? Can you give us a clear picture?
Well, I think really the most important, I'm giving you my raw reaction to actually when I just saw the money hit my bank account. It was just,
Oh,
it was
what?
really a relief because I've had so,
Great,
you
great.
know, like maybe an hour ago, I just looked in there and saw it. You know, it's just that I was just thinking how relieved I am because I've had so many moving expenses, you know, and just getting back to where I feel is the most important place for us to be for my son's stability. You know, I want him to have access to the speech therapy, his occupational therapy. Atlanta has, you know, obviously in the state of Georgia, Atlanta has the best resources for this. So we, you know, I wanted us to make sure that we were back specifically in the city, you know, and so all of those things matter. You know, I made decisions, financial decisions on where we live based on our needs, not based on my affordability, because I'm looking at, you know, the possibilities of life. You know, I'm looking to make our life be the best that it can be and not accepting anything less than that. And I hope that, you know, for other families that they can start seeing those possibilities for themselves too. Um, Everyone deserves that. It's so fundamental. And this is, you know, it's a small step, but it's also a huge step in creating that, you know, that America that we all want to be able to see for each other in our hearts. And I hope, you know, that maybe this might actually open some hearts up as well too, for people to understand that yes, government is not everything, but government is what we create it to be.
Thank you so much.
And this
No, go
this is
ahead.
you working for us to do that. So no, I was just saying this is just you working for us to do that, and we thank you so much for this representation.
Well, thank you so much. We're here with you, and my heart goes out for you and so many parents who are struggling and trying to do the best they can by their children. And so just to hear from you firsthand the impact that this is having on you in real time is just amazing. Over 2.2 million Georgia children stand to benefit from the expanded tax credit. And over 97% of Georgia families with children are eligible. So this is real money for real people responding, as Nura has made so clearly, to real problems. The expanded tax credit will lift roughly 165,000 Georgia children out of poverty. This is tremendous news for hardworking Georgians coming out of this once-in-a-century pandemic. In addition to supporting Georgia families and getting our state back on track, I want to ask Alicia and also Ray, if you'd like to respond, what does the expanded tax credit do for our state and local economy? Ray, would you like to respond to that? And then perhaps Alicia.
Sure, sure. Well, I will say, it does things on twofold. For one, it increases the earnings, for families, particularly, families of lower incomes who have had stagnating or declining wages in this pandemic. And, frankly, for the last few decades, and, allowing them to use those, additional earnings for the household needs, to spend on on goods and services that will pump into our local economy, into businesses here who can have a greater demand that can increase their employment, and then at the same time that can ultimately increase the tax revenue that the state gets that can go into the public services that serve our economy. So These child tax credits this expanded child tax credit can have multiple positive impacts on Georgia's local and state economy.
Thanks, Ray. And just to pivot off that and give some local context, here in Savannah, our asset poverty rate is about 36%. That means that more than 1 in 3 Savannah households are without sufficient net worth to negotiate their day-to-day losses or bills or anything like that related to their household finances. And so this means everything to those families compared to Georgia's asset poverty rate, which is about 27.3%. You can see for the Savannah community that this is extremely meaningful for our families. Citizens in Chatham County are, they're more likely to be asset poor. And many of our low-wage working families are unable to take advantage of asset building opportunities, such as, getting higher paying jobs or having savings or buying a home and creating those durable assets that are going to make a long-term difference in their life. So this child tax credit really assists them, again, in creating a real future outcome for themselves.
Thank you so much. The fact of the matter is that in America, the richest country in the world, children should not worry about whether there is food on the table. Parents shouldn't have to worry about whether they can feed their children, especially folk as we see the working poor working every single day and still unable to make ends meet, working harder and harder, seeing less and less. And so this expanded child tax credit included in the American Rescue Plan, first of all, is something we would not have accomplished if Georgia had not pushed us into the majority in the Senate so that we could get this done in the narrowest of Senate majorities possible. But it's a step towards eradicating child poverty. The experts tell us it will cut child poverty in half. Now, there's some of us in the Senate who are already working to make this tax cut permanent. Some folks are working to make the tax cuts of billionaires permanent. I and others are working to make this tax cut permanent. Can either of you talk about what kind of long-term benefits you think we will see when we make this tax refund permanent for families across Georgia and across the country? For real people, how does that show up over time?
Sure. You go first, ladies first.
No, okay, nothing. I was just going to circle back to the fact that when families are dealing with asset poverty, they essentially are having, a net worth of zero, no durable assets such as savings, home, life insurance, 401ks, those things that some of us in America are more used to than others. And so having this real-time benefit for them to access for some of our lower wage working families makes all the difference in creating an economic future, starting a savings, and creating some of those other means for generating economic mobility for themselves and for their children.
Yes, and I'll just add and say, research has shown, when we have, expanded tax credits, including other tax credits like the earned income tax credit, there's been, improvements in infant and maternal health, improvements when it comes to school performance, when we think about all the way from elementary up to high school, and then beyond that, in higher education. There's improvements that have been shown when it comes to higher educational attainment and achievement when it comes to college. And all of these lead into the further long-term benefit of having better jobs and higher pay, which can ultimately lead to increased health, increased opportunity and economic mobility. That can all come, from an expanded tax credit.
Well, thank you all so very much for joining us today. As you listen to the expertise of Alicia and Ray and the parenting expertise and testimony of someone like Nura, it is abundantly clear that today is a big day for our country and for our state. I'm so excited that beginning today, countless families across Georgia and the nation will begin receiving their first enhanced child tax credit from the American Rescue Plan. For many Georgia families today, that bank account should be just a little bit higher. Today or tomorrow, check in on Monday. This tax cut for working families is a game changer. It's a game changer for hardworking Georgia families who stand to receive up to $300 per child per month. That's money that can help them do the things that they think are important. This money will help so many working parents provide additional support to their children and help working families not just to survive, but to thrive, especially following this pandemic and the economic turndown that came with it, closing down restaurants and impacting families, as Nura described in such clear forms. And so starting today, the expanded child tax credit will make a tremendous difference in the lives of over 2.2 million Georgia children. 2.2 million Georgia children just got a raise, a lift that will make a major difference in their lives. Roughly 165 Georgia children will be lifted out of poverty thanks to this tax cut. And experts estimate that this will decrease childhood poverty in Georgia by 46%. But these are not numbers. These are my neighbors and your neighbors. And that's why championing this tax cut has been one of my proudest moments in the Senate, is why I do this work. And even as we were negotiating the pandemic relief bill, I was speaking on the Senate floor, reminding Americans that when you provide tax cuts to hardworking Georgia families, they buy essential things like food and baby diapers. They buy a coat for their kid. So let's be clear, this tax cut not only helps working families, it boosts the economy for all of us. As working families go out, they don't have huge margins of assets to sit on, as Alicia made clear. So when they get this money, they go out and they spend it in a consumer economy for essentials, and that in turn boosts the economy. What I'm saying is that not only is this the right thing to do for working families, it's the smart thing to do for the Georgia economy. And so the tax credits in the American Rescue Plan are a historic investment in our state and our nation's greatest asset, our people, our kids, our families, our workers who work every day and are still struggling to make ends meet. That investment must continue for years to come. And so we took a major first step to expand this tax cut in the American Rescue Plan, and I'm going to keep fighting to make these tax cuts permanent so future generations of working families all across Georgia have a hand up. Congress has an opportunity to eradicate childhood poverty in the richest nation on the planet, and we must not let it slip away. We must make the necessary investments in our children because they are the future of Georgia and this nation. And in a country like the United States of America, a parent's income should not determine a child's outcome. So my thanks to those who are joining me today virtually, to everyone who worked to make this day possible. Know that I've got your back and I'm going to fight for you every single day in the United States Senate. And now with that, we have a little time for a couple of questions.
Thank you so much, Senator Warnock, and for those who are joining us today. The first question will be from WRBL in Columbus. Go ahead.
Hi, Senator Warnock. It's Carissa D'Agostino. I just wanted to ask you a question. Being in West Georgia, I cover a lot of the rural communities out here. And I was wondering how the expanded child tax credit benefits our rural communities, those who especially had challenges getting to healthcare, transportation issues, things like that. How is this beneficial to those families?
This expanded child tax credit will be a shot in the arms of the economy in rural Georgia. I've spent a lot of time in rural Georgia over the last several months, especially talking to people, seeing up close their struggles. And when you help these families, especially families with children, these are resources that help them meet essential needs. And a lot of these rural communities have long been forgotten about. Politicians have left them behind. But this is a way of saying that you are not forgotten. And it's the reason why I fought so hard to make sure this was a provision included in the American Rescue Plan. And what we ought to do now is make it permanent because this will cut child poverty by almost 50% in Georgia, 46% in our rural communities, in our urban communities. And people need long-term support. And, you know, the folks in our rural communities have a lot of pride and they're committed to the work that they do. And what this does is it enables people to create their best life. This is not a handout, this is a help, this is a hand up. And it suggests a different view of public policy that says we not only help ordinary families, but the best thing we can do for the economy in general is to give the middle class and hardworking families a tax cut, and that's what this is all about.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. We have time for about one more question. Alicia, Ray, Nura, feel free to jump in if you'd like. This final question will be from Hannah at Fox 54. Go ahead, Hannah.
Hi, Senator. This is Hannah Cotter with Fox 54 in Augusta, Georgia. I was just wondering who is eligible for this child tax credit?
Almost all of the families with children in the state and in the nation will benefit from this child tax credit. This is the opposite of what happened in 2017, when there was a huge tax cut given in America to the folks who need it the least. And it was a huge burden on the nation's budget. And for what purpose? To give billionaires a tax cut? It wasn't to help with families. It wasn't to help mental health care. It didn't strengthen our schools. This is a tax cut that will help most of the families in the United States of America. And so if you filed your taxes, I want to encourage you to start looking today. Some folks have already begun to see that extra money in their bank accounts. Others should check the mail, and others should go to the website which deals with the child tax credit, and we'll provide that to all the journalists who are here so that folks who have questions and are wondering how to file and get their child tax credit, they can reach out directly to us. There's a portal that will make sure that the folks who need it and who are eligible get the resources that they need.
And
Thank you so much, Senator Warnock. Go ahead.
I'll just also add to that. I want to emphasize that absolutely, as the senator just mentioned, that for those who have already filed their taxes, it's coming to you, it's on the way. But for those who have not filed their taxes in 2019 or 2020, it is available to you as well. You still have to file, a simple tax form on the website, as mentioned. But this is available to those who normally may not have been able to qualify for any refund that could come back to them as far as a tax credit. And that's typically that's left out those who are in the deepest
Right.
poverty. So this is something that's open. It's open to those who have filed, and even if you have not filed yet, you can go to the IRS website and file a simple tax form that will allow you to begin receiving monthly payments. So it is open to those who are, whether you are low income all the way up to, for single filers all the way up to, it begins to taper off at around 112,000, and for married couples at 150,000. So it is available for virtually everyone that's low and middle income and somewhat on the upper income threshold as well.
That's right. It's the overwhelming majority of people would be eligible. And let me be really clear about what we mean when we say expanded child tax credit. Prior to this provision, the sad fact is that there were some people in America with children who were too poor to get the child tax credit. And what this provision does is it plugs the hole so that someone making $60,000 is not better off in terms of receiving a child tax credit than someone who makes $18,000. That's a big difference that was made in this provision. But most families with most working families, middle class families, working class families with children will benefit from this provision. And I believe that it's going to benefit the Georgia economy and the American economy.